Hey, welcome back to MCrider. This week on MCrider, we're going to add another video to our Ride Along series. I'll show you how your hands and arms affect the smoothness of your ride on a bumpy road. We'll talk about emergency vehicles. We'll watch as an 18-wheeler leaves landmines along a long stretch of highway, and I'll give you a simple tip to avoid this. Now I'll admit my Road King gets hot, but I've never had to get off of it because my crotch caught on fire. Now this guy was having a really bad day, but there's something that's really impressive here that you may have missed. Watch how this guy gets his shoes off at full gallop. I mean, he didn't even slow down, they just came flying off his feet. So aside from a bruised ego and maybe some red nether regions, it looked like this guy ended up being okay. But that can be solved with one simple technique. Get off your motorcycle when you refuel. I've seen riders in the past pull up to a gas pump. They stay seated on the motorcycle and refuel the motorcycle. Now, if you think about it, when you refuel your car, the hot engine is quite a ways away from where you're putting the gas in most cases. On a motorcycle, though, that hot engine is right underneath the gas tank. So if any fuel spills over the gas tank, there's a very high likelihood that it could ignite. So you want to make sure that you're in a position to get away from it if it does catch on fire, because ripping your pants off out in public is not something that I want to have to do on a regular basis. I like this road outside of Fort Worth. It's not the quickest way for me to get home, but when I'm on a motorcycle, it's usually the way I go, because it's one of the few roads around here that has a few decent curves on it. But you'll notice one thing about this road is it's really bumpy. Especially on this XSR 900, all of those bumps can transfer up into you. But there's one thing that you can do to make it smoother on the motorcycle. If you've got a death grip on the hand grips and your arms are really tight on the handlebars, all of that movement of the front end of the motorcycle is going to transfer up through your arms into you. So you want to stay loose on the handlebars of the motorcycle. Keep your grip loose, keep some flexibility in your arms, and allow your arms to act as a shock absorber so that all of those bumps and crevices in the road don't transfer up into you. So stay loose on the handlebars and you'll notice a big difference in how your motorcycle feels, especially going over some bumpy roads like this. Next, let's talk about how you can use your lane position to see up the road. You can see I'm positioned to the left side of the lane here, and that gives me a clear view up the road. But this road is getting ready to turn slightly to the right. So I shift my lane position over to the right portion of the lane, and you'll notice as the road turns to the right, it opens up my view again so that I can see up the road. So you always want to position yourself on the motorcycle so that you can see and be seen, but your lane position has a big impact on how much you can see up the road ahead of you. One of the arguments I hear about wearing earplugs when you ride is riders saying that they want to be able to hear what's going on around them. Where I've got a full face helmet on, I've got earplugs in, but I can still hear the emergency vehicle coming up behind me, and I pull over to the side to let them around. Those guys have a job to do. So when you're in that situation, get over, get out of the way, and let them get to where they need to be. Here's an intersection that's not too far from my house, and I probably see 3 or 4 serious accidents at this intersection right here every year. You got cars coming up from the left on the highway. They're going, 65, 70 miles an hour sometimes, and you've got a stoplight. So somebody invariably runs that stoplight and hits somebody broadside They're either making a turn right here or they run through that intersection and causes a pretty serious accident. Now on a car, that accident's one thing, but on a motorcycle, it's a life or death situation. So when you find yourself at a stoplight like this and you've got traffic coming up to your left, when that light turns green for you, don't just run out in that intersection because you've got the right of way. You always want to look to your left, make sure that traffic is coming to a stop before you pull out into that intersection. Because it's one thing to do it in a car, it's a death sentence if you pull out and get hit in a situation like this on your motorcycle. Look to the left, make sure that traffic stopped before you go out into that intersection. Here's a situation where looking up the road paid its dividends. Now, I was riding up the road and I noticed some large chunks of rubber being left in the highway. A lot of times when you find one of these, you're going to start finding more of them along the way as well. So it's time to get alert. Now, if you look carefully on the road, you'll see a lot of these chunks of rubber. And if you look further up the road, you can see the smoke and you can start to tell who the culprit is. So not only can large chunks of rubber like this be difficult to navigate around, they can throw the front end out of balance. They're going to hop up and hit your legs and ankles as you go over them. And if your following distance is not good, the cars in front of you are going to toss them up as well. So it's a time to be hyper alert when you see something like this on the roadway. So I eventually caught up to our friend here on the highway. And if you listen closely, you can hear that second tire let go on this trailer. This just illustrates my points that I've made in other videos. When possible, you want to stay away from these big trucks out on the road. There are a lot of things going on here. It's hard for them to see you. And when one of these tires go or one of those big chunks of rubber come loose, you don't want to be anywhere around it on your motorcycle. If you enjoyed this video, we've got others like it in the Ride Along series. I'll have a link to that at the end of the video. I'd like to thank everyone who supports this channel as a YouTube member or as a patron. They both get access to the field guide and the forums. The field guide has exercises that you can work on any open parking lot. We just added a new section to that for new riders with exercises designed for someone who's just getting this thing figured out. So until next week, guys, this is Kevin with MCrider, and we'll see you on the road. MCrider is supported by our friends on Patreon. To learn how to support MCrider and get access to the field guide, go to mcrider.com/support.